Okay friends, hello! Let me welcome you to this reading vlog, in which I'm reading the saddest books known to man. Basically, as you probably know from the title, this vlog doesn't end until a book makes me cry. And let me tell you, I'm recording this after I've already finished filming this vlog, and it did not go how I thought it would. I mean, obviously you cannot know what actually is going to make you cry, but yeah, there were some surprises there. And I'm not sure if the first book that I've chosen was the right book. I'm not gonna lie, I have some regrets, but it's fine. In case, because I feel like there might be some people asking, in case you're wondering where's A Little Life, I've already read it, so it's not going to be in this vlog. It did make me cry multiple times. But yes, let's go to the past, and Anya from the past will introduce you to the first book of the vlog. Okay, hello. So, we are starting this vlog with Flowers for Algernon by Daniel Keyes. I'm gonna be so honest, the expectations are low. First of all, because this is a science fiction novel, so I don't expect to cry. Also, it's written by a man, and if this has any female characters, I don't expect them to be written well. But listen, I would love to be proven wrong. Like, Daniel, please prove me wrong. But it would be funny if the first book made me cry. We'll see. If it does, I will just name this vlog Reading Very Sad Books, because there's still quite a lot that I would like to read. Enough rambling, let's start reading. Hello, sorry about the lighting, but during the day the lighting in my room is awful, so you'll have to excuse that. It makes me look very white. But yes, as you can see, I dyed my hair. This color is actually not that much darker than my natural hair color. I like it. I like it, but also I should be cutting my hair short soon. I just wanted to see myself in like dark, long hair before I cut it short. That's gonna happen in like a month or so. Changes. Anyway, the update. I am here to finish off my makeup and talk to you about Flowers for Algernon, because I am halfway through it. So let's start with the premise, because I don't think I told you anything about the plot. I'm just putting my eye primer on, because I cannot wear eyeshadow without eye primer. It creases after like 30 minutes otherwise. So yes, the book review. Flowers for Algernon is a science fiction novel that is about a character named Charlie, who is about 30 years old, and his IQ is 68, and he works at a bakery, but there's this school where he goes to learn like reading and writing, and the teacher there recommends him for like an operation to make him smarter. This is the science fiction part, right? So after some tests, he undergoes this operation, and the operation is a success. He gets kind of gradually smarter and smarter, and that causes a lot of problems for him, because he thought he had a happy life. He thought he had friends at work. But as he gets smarter, he starts realizing things about his life, like for example the friends he thought that he had at the bakery weren't actually his friends. They were making fun of him, they were actually like bullying him. He just didn't realize that. And he also starts looking back on his childhood. I think he actually just like forgot a lot of his childhood due to trauma. And yet again, as he kind of recollects a lot of his memories, childhood memories, he realizes things were tough, and a lot of the times he didn't realize that because he was so like mentally behind. So that's for the premise. How am I enjoying the book? I'm enjoying it. It's interesting. the author actually did obtain a bachelor's degree in psychology, and I am interested where this book will go and what will be the conclusion. So far we had some interesting takes on like how some people didn't treat him even like as a person when his IQ was 68. Like the doctors that work with him kind of think that because they made him smarter, they actually made him into a person, which is not true. Like, he was still a human being before. And I think that's all I want to tell you. So when it comes to like how women are represented in this book, there aren't many of them. The one character that had kind of a big role in the beginning later became a love interest, which I was like, why? And the second she stopped being a love interest, she disappeared from the story. But it's not as bad as I thought it would be. I've read many science fiction novels, or just novels written by men in general, with worse representation of women. So far it's not horrible. So I'm enjoying it. I'm interested in like what the author will have to say, like not just like plot wise, but just like on a kind of like psychological, philosophical level, like what makes us human, stuff like that. Because I'm pretty sure this is what this book should be about. This novel started with a quote from Plato's The Republic, so not sure if this is a good or bad sign, but we'll see. Today I am meeting with my friend and we're going to see a movie, Substance, or The Substance, I think it's Substance. It is a horror movie and I've heard a lot of good things about it, but I am a scaredy cat, so we'll see how much I enjoy it. I really cannot do my makeup and talk, like this is difficult. How do people do this? Okay, sorry about the angle change, but my camera died. I forgot to tell you about the most important thing, which is, do I think that Flowers for Algernon, I keep saying Algernon, Flowers for Algernon will make me cry? And honestly, I feel like it could. Like, I get it. Even like during the beginning, while reading about Charlie kind of realizing that his friends weren't his friends and how a lot of people are awful and how he like almost wishes that he didn't know all of that, like he was probably happier being ignorant. That was quite sad. So I know that what's the most heartbreaking is the ending, but I will keep you updated on that front. Okay, let me just finish up my makeup and I can finish up this update. Oh, when it comes to the movie, I'll take you along. If you've seen it, tell me in the comments how you liked it. I don't really know what this movie is actually about, but I think it does talk about like beauty standards, so it's kind of giving Natural Beauty by Ling Ma. I'm gonna do kind of a darker lip today, I think. I've been collecting some darker lipsticks for fall, so if you see me rocking more of a bold lip, don't judge me, I'm trying something new. It's been a while since I used this lip liner. It's very pretty. You can't really see anything. It's NYX Cold Brew. Almost all of my lip liners are from NYX. Now the star of the show, a bright red in the middle. I liked this lip combo last year, but now I'm not so sure. Should I go for a dark brown lip gloss on top? Yes, I should. Yes. I'm always like this, like whenever someone asks me what kind of lip products I have on, it's always hard to answer because it's like 3 different products. Anyway, let me show you the finished look. So, this is her. I'm gonna eat something and... oh, I should buy the tickets. Okay, yeah. I'm gonna buy the tickets and then I'll take you to the cinema. Hello, I'm here to give you a very quick review of The Substance. I liked it, I didn't love it. It lost me a bit in the 3rd act. I felt like the director didn't know where else to go like thematically. So there was just, you know, a lot of gore and body horror at the end. But I don't know, I don't think it got a very satisfying resolution when it comes to the themes. But It was an interesting experience, so I ended up giving it 3 stars on Letterboxd. It's just pain. I'm not crying, but that book nearly broke me, okay? I have to say I wasn't expecting for a science fiction novel to be this, like, emotionally mature and heart-wrenching, but I will go to sleep because okay, my camera died, but I was just going to say that it's the middle of the night, so I'm going to go to sleep and do my final review tomorrow. But I just need you to know that while I was waiting for my camera to charge, I just sat on my bed like this for like 10 minutes. Yeah, the last sentence, it was a lot. Like, I'm not crying, but I am broken, you know? Ooh, I feel like I need some compensation after the emotional turmoil that I went through while reading this book. Anyway, I'll see you tomorrow. It's the next day. Let me give you my final review of Flowers for Algernon. Hold on, let me put it up. Her. First of all, I did not think we would start off the vlog this strong. Like, I did not expect to get emotional while reading a science fiction novel. But I have to say, overall, I think I definitely prefer this kind of science fiction because it's very light science fiction. Like, there's just like an element of science fiction, which is like the part of being able to like have this operation to increase your IQ, but everything else is very much like set in reality. I definitely prefer that, and I might have to warn you because like this book was published in the 60s and it definitely has some language of its time. Like, the R word is used repeatedly, but I was still quite surprised at how compassionate this book was towards people with mental disabilities. And actually I've read that the author, because he does have a psychology degree, but I think he was an English teacher for a while and he worked with kids with disabilities. So I'm sure that helped with writing this book. I also think this is a perfect group read. Like, I wish I had someone to discuss the ending with. So I'm going to very briefly get into spoilers, but I read the ending and at first I was a bit disappointed because at the end Charlie goes back to working at the bakery after he loses his intelligence, and I was a bit disappointed with that at first because I was like, Charlie thinks that they're his friends, but we know they're not really his friends, and are they nice to him just because they no longer feel inferior to him now that he has lost his intelligence? But also, does it really matter? You know, like, does it matter as long as like Charlie is happy and he thinks he has friends? Does it matter if it's not the reality, you know? I don't know. I thought this was quite thought-provoking, but I am giving it 4.5 stars because of the slight sexism. Like, every single woman the main character encountered wanted to sleep with him, what's that about? But honestly, it wasn't as bad as I thought. And I already talked about the emotional aspects. I did get choked up a bit at the end, like the very last sentence. It was a lot. But I didn't cry, so we're gonna continue this book. Next book I am going to read, actually I'm not sure, because this was a modern classic, so I think next I want to read some contemporary novel. And two of the contenders are In Memoriam by Alice Winn and All the Lovers in the Night by Mieko Kawakami. I think this one explores topics of loneliness and depression maybe, so very fun. And this one is about two young boys who fall in love and then have to go to war. I think it's set in the like 1910s. It's historical fiction. Honestly, as the first book showed, I don't know what actually is going to make me emotional, so I don't think I should choose based on what I think is going to make me cry, because I don't know what's going to make me cry, right? So I think I'm going to choose one that I just feel kind of more in the mood to read. And that book would be In Memoriam. So I'm gonna start it. I'm not sure if I'm gonna start it today because I have to bake a cake. I'm going to make a Biscoff cake for the first time, and in the evening I'm going to my friend and we're going to have a movie night. So I'll show you how the cake turned out, and probably tomorrow I'll start In Memoriam. So, as a shocking turn of events, I am not enjoying In Memoriam. Y'all lied to me. This is not good. And I know I am in the minority here because the rating on Goodreads is insane. It's like 4.5 or something like that. So when it comes to the premise, I honestly told you as much as I can tell you about this book. We start off in this boarding school. It's some kind of like private school where we meet two of our main characters, Gaunt and Elwood. And in the very beginning, we find out that they have some feelings towards each other. But at the very end of the first chapter, which is like after the first 20 pages or so, 30 pages maybe, we find out that one of the main characters decided to enlist in the army. So this is set around the First World War, and two of our main characters end up fighting alongside each other at the front, right? First of all, since we only have one chapter to establish the relationship, that's just not enough. I don't think the relationship was developed enough for me to care about them. I also feel like the characters are a little bit stereotypical. Like we have Elwood, who's a bit more flamboyant, a bit egocentric. He quotes poetry all of the time. And then we have Gaunt, who is more closed off, a bit grumpy, isn't really in touch with his feelings. And I felt like a lot of their scenes together read a bit like fanfiction, to be honest. And here are my credentials. First of all, I have written fanfiction when I was like in 6th grade, beginning of middle school. And after that, I read a lot of fanfiction from various fandoms. And like, I know for a fact there is some good fanfiction out there because I've read it. So I'm not here to shit on fanfiction, okay? But when I say that some of their scenes read like fanfiction, I don't mean it in a good way. I think when it comes to the writing style, I don't think it's very well written. Like, it's okay, it's fine, but I guess I've expected something more. It's definitely leaning more towards general fiction than literary fiction, which is fine, but I guess I've just heard some praises about the writing style, so I thought it would be a bit more elevated. I saw one of the reviews saying the prose was very pedestrian, and I was like, why would you say something so controversial? It's so true. I do find the scenes that are not set kind of around the like romantic part of the novel. So like scenes at the front, you know, daily descriptions of their lives in the army. I find those scenes to be a lot more compelling and a bit more well written, but anything concerning the relationship, I just cringe a little bit. And I forgot to tell you, but like I also found out after the first like 2-3 chapters, I found out that the author actually used to write fanfiction. I think she was writing a fanfiction about Harry and Draco from Harry Potter. Which, like, no shade, no shade, like, you do you. Like I said, I've written my own fanfiction back in the day. I'm actually more ashamed because I have written straight fanfiction. Like, who was I? But when I found that out, I felt very validated about my feelings when it comes to the more intimate scenes between the characters. Because, like, I'm really not trying to shit on fanfiction. I just mean that when I say something reads like fanfiction, and if you haven't read fanfiction, you probably don't know what I'm talking about, but there are certain, like, turns of phrases or just situations that the characters find themselves in that just really remind me of fanfiction. I don't know, y'all. I really want to DNF it. Like, I don't give a fuck about those characters. But do I continue for the sake of this vlog? No, because, like, I know for a fact this is not going to make me cry. If I don't empathize with the characters, the book is not going to move me. I know that. So what's the point of continuing? I've read like 100 pages, so I'm almost like a third into it. I might read like a chapter or 2 more, but this looks like a DNF. If I end up DNFing it, I just need you to know that I will reach for All the Lovers in the Night next. That's it. Guys, I tried. I did my best. I read 2 more chapters, but I can't do it anymore. A lot of it feels like, I'm sure Alice Winn did some research, but a lot of it seems a bit unrealistic, especially like when it comes to people's reactions to the characters being gay. And when it comes to the writing style, okay, let me show you. Like here, for example, we have we in italics and who's we in italics and we underlined. Like, it's really just giving fanfiction. I can't do it. Yeah, I got 130 pages into it and I'm giving up. So, on to the next book. Okay, also, let me just very briefly say that there already have been some deaths and some like emotional scenes, and I didn't feel anything. I didn't care. So that's why I'm saying I know this book will not make me cry. Okay, bye. this is just a quick update on All the Lovers in the Night, because I am like 70 pages into it, so a third into it probably, and I'm quite enjoying it. So this book is about the main character named Fuyuko, who is 34 years old, and she is a freelance proofreader. So she works from home, she proofreads books, manuscripts, and she doesn't really have a life outside of work. She just spends her days at home, doesn't really have friends, doesn't seem to be in contact with her family, and also doesn't seem to have any hobbies. At this point, she is slowly starting to try and change her life, but it's not going too well, because the first thing she started to do was she started drinking, and she is drinking a lot, and she also started thinking of taking some classes. It's not quite a university, it's like a university along with some kind of company. They offer classes, and she thought she would sign up for some classes, but that didn't go that well so far. So how am I feeling about it? I'm enjoying it. It's more kind of quietly melancholic rather than kind of heartbreaking so far. It definitely reminds me of Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine, which I also really enjoyed. There were some kind of feminist takes in the book, which I enjoyed, but this book, if I remember correctly, was published in 2011, so like nothing that was said was like groundbreaking at this point for me, but it was still nice to read about it, especially since this is set in Japan, so I'm still like seeing a different perspective. And yeah, honestly, it's Saturday and it's like 9 p.m. and I might just hunker down and finish this book today. So let's try and do that. Okay, let me marinate with my thoughts for a while, and I'll get back to you with a review. Okay friends, I am sorry to say, but the audio in that clip is gone. There's nothing I can do. I can only re-record my thoughts. Unfortunately, it's been a few weeks since I filmed it, so it took me some time to like decipher what I was saying in that clip. I was trying to lip read, I was, using context clues, but I think I got most of it. So I wrote it down so I don't forget anything. Basically, I liked the ending, but overall the book left me feeling a bit unsatisfied. I felt like I didn't know the main character well enough and didn't understand her choices and motivations, and I think it would have helped me if we got like more glimpses into her childhood and like who her parents were, because I'm pretty sure we didn't get any info about her parents. Yeah, like I don't mean like, oh, there was like 1 or 2 sentences only, like none. Which was confusing, because like, if you want it or not, your parents do shape who you are as a person. Obviously you can like change later in life, like work on some stuff in like therapy or whatever, but who we are as people and like what kind of relationships we build with people definitely depends on how we were brought up as children. Like, you know, like it's such an important thing. So I wish we got more of that, because I feel like I would understand the main character better if we did. Another thing, there was a romantic subplot, but I wouldn't call this a romance book, okay? Without any spoilers, I liked the resolution of that relationship, especially since, like, throughout most of the book, I knew that the kind of love interest or whatever was older than our main character. The main character is in her 30s, and I thought the guy was in his 40s because it is mentioned that he is older. But later in the book, we find out he's like pushing 60, and I was like, girl, stand up! But yeah, I like the resolution of that relationship. I was really worried that we would go the route of like, she gets into a relationship and like all of her problems disappear, but that's not what happened. What I really liked was the exploration of friendships, female friendships in particular. Like, obviously she's kind of a loner, but she has like some woman in her life that could be called like friends or like acquaintances, and that was really interesting because they all led different lives, and it really showed you that people have different priorities, and the life that I lead would have a lot of cons to someone else, but for me it's like good, while someone else's life for me would be unfulfilling even though it's perfect for them. I mean, perfect. It also shows that like we all have our own problems no matter what we choose in life, and no one's life is really perfect. Like, some people focus on, you know, family, some people focus on their career, other people just really enjoy their hobbies, and like there's no wrong way to live your life, really. It's yours to live, you know? So I really enjoyed that. Another little con was that I didn't love how the dialogue was written. I mean, and I understand the point of it, because like a lot of the times when characters would talk to our main character, she would just repeat what they were saying, and I understand the point of it. Like, it's supposed to show this like introverted, shy, maybe socially anxious person, but I feel like those kind of people don't talk like that. Like, someone would say, oh, and are you leaving town for like holiday? And she was like, leaving town? And the other character would be like, oh yeah, because I'm like going out of town for the holiday, blah blah blah, and they would go on this like monologue, and at the end of the monologue they would ask a question, oh, and how do you feel about it? And she would again repeat, how do I feel about it? Like, she offered nothing in the conversation, and like I understand what the author is trying to say, but also after some time it got on my nerves, you know? But overall, even though this book left me a bit unsatisfied, I would read more from this author. I see a lot of potential in her. I definitely would like to read more of her like recent stuff. I think Breast and Eggs is a novel that she published semi-recently. Oh, I didn't tell you the rating. I'm giving it 3.5 stars. So, I'm pretty sure at the end of this update I told you what would be the next book that I will read in this reading vlog, and that book is Stoner by John Williams. I also think I gave you the wrong synopsis because I said this book is about a college professor whose wife cheats on him, and that's not really true. It is about a college professor, but his wife doesn't cheat on him. I will tell you more about this book in the next clip. Okay, hello. I took a few days off from recording this vlog because I needed a little palate cleanser, okay? I cannot read one depressing book after another, so I've decided to read one of Agatha Christie novels. I read Sad Cypress. I understand the irony of me being like, oh, I can't read more like dark and depressing books, and then I read about murder. But like, listen, Agatha Christie is like candy to me. So I read Sad Cypress, really enjoyed it. Very quick review. I really enjoyed the narrative style. We kind of start with this woman that's on trial for like allegedly murdering this other woman, and then we go back in time, so we have time to like get acquainted with the characters and like start caring about the woman that's on trial, and then like it leads up to the murder happens, and then we go back to the present where Hercule Poirot gets involved with the case and starts to collect evidence, wants to figure out if she really is the one who committed the murder. I think I also liked it because Hercule Poirot wasn't that present in the story. Like, obviously he was in the third part when he starts collecting evidence, but I'm not a huge fan of Hercule Poirot, and for me, the less of him, the better. So yes, I finished that, gave it 4 stars, and felt ready to reach for Stoner. I started it today. I'm only like 63 pages in actually. And listen, I don't want to be too pessimistic right off the bat. Especially since like I barely read anything. But I have to tell you my initial thoughts. That's the way it goes. So I think maybe I had too high of expectations for this book because I've heard nothing but praise for this book. Like, literally, there are people calling this the perfect novel. There's a book, like I think biography of John Williams that's called, I don't know, the person who wrote the perfect novel. What is it called? Yes, the man who wrote the perfect novel. John Williams, Stoner, and the Writing Life. So the expectations were high, and I feel like maybe there's no way they could have been met. What did I tell you about this book? This book is about William Stoner, who comes from a rather poor background. His parents are farmers, and, you know, throughout his life, his childhood, he helps out at the farm, and then his father finds out about this, like, university that offers some kind of, like, agricultural degree or something like that, and he's like, you should go do that. And William agrees, he goes to university, but there he has to take an elective course? No, it's not an elective. He has to take like an English lit class, and he, well, at least we're told he falls in love with like literature and later decides to be a university teacher. So I think we follow the main character throughout his life. This book is kind of written like a biography. Like there's this, like, I don't know, would you call it like an omnibus narrator? I'm not sure. Like, we start off, the first sentence is, William Stoner entered the University of Missouri as a freshman in the year 1910 at the age of 19. 8 years later, during the height of World War I, he received his Doctor of Philosophy degree and accepted an instructorship at the same university, where he taught until his death in 1956. So that's what I mean. It's written like almost like a biography. Why am I not enjoying it? So far, I just feel like I don't know who the main character is at all. Like, he has no personality. And also I felt like him suddenly having this revelation, like, oh my god, I love literature, I want to teach. It came like so out of nowhere, and I guess this could be considered like a campus novel, but I feel like we spend no time with him like attending lectures, teaching, like nothing like that. I don't feel like he's actually passionate about books. So I don't know. That being said, I do think this is very well written. The prose is very beautiful, so I'm definitely going to finish it. I don't think it's going to be a very entertaining or happy read. It's going to be bleak, depressing, and probably hopeless, but I will update you along the way. So it is Thursday, and tomorrow we have a day off. It's, what is it called, All Saints Day? Normally people like go with their families to the cemetery and visit like people from their family who like died and like light a candle, stuff like that. But I've already done it last week with my family, so now I have a 3-day weekend, and I'm gonna use that to visit my dad, who lives like 3 hours away from Warsaw. I'll take you along, and I guess I'm gonna finish this book there. Oh, that was bleak. Hello, I would like to apologize in advance because this review might be a bit all over the place because it is 2 a.m. and I just finished the book. So I don't know, I feel like my thoughts are not set in stone yet, and I don't think I'm going to give you a rating yet. I can tell you I didn't cry, but I did enjoy the second half more than I enjoyed the first part. Let's start with the things I didn't like. Everything surrounding the main character's love life, I hated. I don't quite remember where we left off when I gave you the first update, but I think I told you he was like a farmer boy and then he went to university and decided he would be teaching literature. Next he meets a woman who later becomes his wife, and the whole like meeting part was so insane. He just saw this woman at a party and fell in love at first sight and like just came up to her and was like, I need to see you tomorrow. And then he like visits her at her house the next day and they barely speak at all, and basically he almost tells her he loves her and like that he needs to see her like every single day. I was like, you don't know this person, you never, she didn't like form a complete sentence in your presence. Who are you in love with? And then soon after they become married, and their consumption of the marriage was so uncomfortable. It was borderline not consensual. Yeah, and I just need to say this. I need to say this because Edith, his wife, clearly had some mental problems. This is apparent from the get-go, from the first moment he meets her. There are just things wrong with her clearly, and the way she is painted mostly as a villain throughout the book, ooh, that got on my nerves. At the same time I understand it because like it was the 1920s, 1930s, 1940s. This book spans throughout many decades, so like knowledge about mental health wasn't as good as it is today, so all I could do was pity Edith. And listen, this might be a spoiler, but somehow I feel like you can't really spoil this book, like nothing happens. It's not a very plot heavy book, it's definitely character driven novel, but if you don't want to be spoiled, skip to this part. Basically I was wrong. I thought his wife was going to have an affair, but no, he had an affair. And I also hated that part too. It was I'm not going to tell you how it ended, but it was with his student. She was, I think she was like a doctorate student, so she wasn't like super young, but she was still much younger than her. It was mentioned like she could have been almost his daughter, so like there was definitely an age difference there, and still he was a professor, she was just like a doctorate student, so there's still this like power difference there. So I didn't like that. That part was very short though. It was like 2 chapters, it was over. So those are definitely spoilers, I feel like, but I don't know, I don't feel like you can spoil this book. But so far it sounds like I really didn't like this book. That is not fully true. I really enjoyed the parts where we focused on Stoner's academic life, his classes, his little squibbles with the other teachers, the students. There was quite an essential plot point. I'm not going to tell you how the conflict resolved, like I said, but my spoilers again. There was a student in his class that I feel like we've all met if you went to university. He was just so like full of himself, and he would like interrupt the teacher constantly with like questions that were so beside the point. It was so infuriating, but I think he was a really well-written character, so that whole plot point was fascinating to me. And also another thing, I don't remember how much I told you, but at first I think I said that his sudden interest in like literature felt a bit kind of like artificial almost, like it just came out of nowhere, and I didn't really feel his passion towards books. And I saw this one review that at first I really agreed with when I was reading the first half of the novel. I hope I can find it. I will put it on the screen, or in the description, but the person who made that review on Goodreads was basically saying how weird it was that he supposedly was so in love with books and literature, but he couldn't really tell because he never talked about specific books. And she made this like point that like normally people are not in love with like literature overall. It's just like specific books, specific authors, specific time periods in literature. So like this like love of literature overall felt a bit, I don't know, unnatural. But the more I read, the more I started thinking that maybe there is a difference between like love for literature and love for academia. I'm not sure if that makes sense at all, but the more I read, the more I could tell that he really cared about teaching. And like, let me tell you, he was a very like stoic kind of person. He didn't show his emotions much, but still I could tell that he cared about teaching, he cared about his students, he cared about ideas. So I think maybe there's a difference there, like literature versus academia. I'm not sure. What else? The writing was good. I need to give credit where credit's due. Writing was really good. The narrative, I think the narrative really prevented me from loving this book, because it is written almost like a biography, and we tend to kind of look back on things a lot. We're rarely ever like in the moment, you know? So I felt like there was a lot of telling instead of showing, which normally I don't love. I feel like it was a conscious choice of the author because it was written in this kind of style. It was like, you know, like when they teach you how to write, the first kind of principle is like show, don't tell. But the author was a professor, like an English professor. He was teaching, I think, creative writing specifically. So this was a conscious choice. This was supposed to help the narrative and the kind of book he wanted to write. So like, I get it, but personally, I didn't love it. And I have to say, the last few chapters I really liked, because the last chapters were about the last years of his life, because this is, you know, his life story. So obviously we finish with his death. This is not a spoiler. We are told when he is going to die at the very beginning, and like at the very beginning we are told that he had led a very unremarkable life, and at the end there's a lot of like looking back on his life, which I really enjoyed. There were a lot of poignant passages there. So yeah, you can see that I have a lot of like conflicted feelings towards this book, which is why I'm not sure what I'm going to rate it. There are definitely things I really disliked, but I do see the appeal. I do understand to a certain degree why people call this a perfect novel. It did not make me cry, so the vlog continues. I am getting a bit worried. I'd say the tentative rating for now would be like a 3-star, maybe 3.5 star, but I will give you the final rating at the end of this vlog. So, very quickly, the next book that I'm going to read is Old Enough by Haley something. Like I've said before, I've decided to choose a book that is going to be very, at least I think is going to be very relatable to me. It's about a mentally ill bisexual who I think loses some kind of long-term friendship, and I was like, this book was written for me and for me only when I read the synopsis, so maybe this will be the one. And I have heard people say that they have cried while reading this book, but I also have heard that it's quite funny, so it's like a mix of things. So I will update you when I get a bit into that book. It's an audiobook because I don't have the physical novel. A few months ago, when I found out about this book, I looked it up, and in Poland at least, the English edition was extremely expensive, like over 100 złotych. I think since then a new edition came out, which is more affordable, but I have decided back then that I'm going to just buy it with a credit on Audible. So I have it on Audible. I'm going to listen to it. Yet another audiobook that I'm going to listen. I was really doing well with reading things physically in this vlog, which was my goal. But maybe this will not be the last book in this vlog. Who knows? Anyway, so I have to go to sleep. Bye. Okay, change of plans. I have started Old Enough on audiobook, and I read the first chapter and realized it's not a book for me. It read a lot more YA than I anticipated. The main character starts college in the first chapter, and the writing style just felt very juvenile, And, you know, that's okay. It's not a book written for me, apparently, but I know a lot of people, possibly younger people, who have enjoyed this book because it has a pretty decent rating on Goodreads. So I've decided to just return the book on Audible and get my credit back. Thankfully, Audible is pretty like flexible with that. So I got my credit back and decided that I'm going to read something that like might sound insane to you, but I started thinking like what makes me cry? Because like first things first, a lot of books that have made me cry had a main character who struggled with some like mental health issues. But I feel like we have covered that in this vlog already. And nothing made me cry so far. And the second thing that makes me cry is cats. There's this one poem by Wisława Szymborska, which like just thinking about it makes me like choked up. It's about a cat who waits for their owner in the house, but it doesn't know that the owner like passed away, just like was taken away to the hospital or whatever, and is no longer alive, and the cat is waiting for her in the apartment, and it's like written from the point of the cat. And I just bawled my eyes out when I read this poem, and I know that overall anything happening to animals hits me pretty hard, especially cats. So I've decided to read The Traveling Cat Chronicles by Hiro Arikawa. Sorry, I have the name on my laptop. It is on Audible, so I can just purchase it with the credit that I got back. So that's great. I have heard that some people cried while reading this book. I have no clue what it's actually about, to be honest. I also was wondering if I should maybe read If Cats Disappeared from the World, but it has much lower rating. And also I read like the first few pages of the ebook on script, and I didn't love the writing style, so I'm gonna go for The Traveling Cat Chronicles. Don't know if this is a very exciting choice for y'all, but we'll see. If it doesn't make me cry, it honestly sounds like a very wholesome and cute book, so maybe it will be a nice break from the depression that is this vlog. So I will update you later. Okay, this is going to be a very quick update, but I am a little bit over halfway through the audiobook, and I don't think there's a lot to say here. I feel like maybe it's not necessarily my type of book normally, but I'm quite enjoying it. It's very just wholesome and cute, and sometimes you just need that. So basically this book is about Sotaro, what's his name? It will be on the screen, and his cat. We meet them in the prologue. The cat Nana was a stray cat and the guy took him in, but 5 years pass, and due to some unforeseen circumstances, we are not told what those circumstances are, but Sotaro cannot keep the cat anymore. And basically the book is him going to a bunch of different friends, like visiting them, and trying to figure out if one of his friends can take care of the cat. I'm quite enjoying the narrative. I think it's a nice mix because some parts are written from the point of view of the cat, and I think the author actually captures the essence of cats pretty well. But it's not the majority of the book. There are still different POVs from Sotaro's friends, which I like. I feel like if it was just from the point of view of the cat, it might have been a bit too much. It might have felt a bit cheesy, but so far I'm enjoying it. Is it the best piece of literature ever written? No, it is not. But I'm having a pretty good time. Do I think that this book could make me cry? Honestly, yes. Like, I don't want to spoil anything, but there are some hints here and there. Listen, I don't know where it's going, but there were some sentences of like the cats saying, "Oh, I wonder what journey will go on next, you know, visiting the different friends before, you know, our whole journey comes to an end. And I'm already like, no, it cannot come to an end. So I don't know, it could be the one. It would be kind of embarrassing if it was, but we'll see. I will update you. Well, there you have it. I cried. I am not done with the book yet, but just wanted to show because I don't know that there was just a sad scene near the end. I don't know if I'll cry once more, but this is the proof that the vlog can end now. So let me finish the book now. So, the ending was still a bit sad, but hopeful. Now I'm going to go hug my cats, and then I will come back to you with a review. Okay, we did it. I don't know what else I can say here. I'm going to give it 4 stars, and I enjoyed it. It was very wholesome, but I think if cats are like overall animals weren't at the center of the book, I wouldn't have enjoyed it as much. It kind of reminded me of Sweet Bean Paste. I don't know, I can't really like think of any other title in this moment, but there is this kind of wholesome Japanese type of literature which normally isn't my cup of tea, but this one was because of the cats. I think I liked that from the very beginning we can kind of tell where the story is going, and like the author just drops little sentences here and there, so like we are all on the same page, so the ending doesn't feel cheesy or like super like kind of predictable, because like we all knew where this was going, you know what I mean? I'm not sure if that makes sense, but I feel like if the author kind of kept it away from us and we kind of arrived at the conclusion without those little hints, it would have been kind of like emotionally manipulative. But I feel like this was actually written in a way that it wasn't that. If that makes sense. So, you know, not my favorite book ever, but definitely made me emotional. And if you are an animal lover and need something easy to read, something that could make you have this like cathartic cry at the end, if you're looking for something like that, I feel like Traveling Cat Chronicles would be a great choice. So what did we read in this vlog? Also, like, I'm glad it was like a good cry, like a solid cry, you know, with tears streaming down my face, so I feel like kind of validated with me not stopping Jesus Christ, with me not stopping the vlog after the first book, because it didn't really make me cry. Like, I got a bit emotional, but I did not cry. So, what we have read in this vlog. First, Flowers for Algernon. This was a 4.5 star, still definitely the best book of this reading vlog. Then, what did I read? I guess in Memoriam, right? Yeah, in Memoriam, which was a DNF after like over 100 pages. Then I read All the Lovers in the Night, 3.5 stars. Then I read Stoner, which I ended up giving 3 stars. I think that makes sense to me because I enjoyed it a bit less than All the Lovers in the Night, and this one I gave 3.5 stars. So 3.5 stars, 3 star, and a 4 star with the Traveling Cat Chronicles. So let's not make this vlog any longer. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.